Like that?
Think that'll work? Yeah, that'll work. I can't see my phone, but I'm assuming that people can see me. Yeah, we've got an important message to get out there to someone who's not here. There's someone who is not here today. They couldn't make it, and hopefully they can still make it. Maybe not today, maybe not this year, but hopefully someday down the road, they will be able to be here today. They aren't here today because they're scared. They're not here today because they're uncertain, right? They're scared about what it might lose, what it might cost them to be honest with themselves, to ask those hard questions, to go against the social norm, right? They're scared that it might cost them friends, that it might cost them family, that it might cost them status at work, that it might cost them a place in heaven, that it might cost them who they are, their very identity, and they are too scared to ask those questions. And that's why they're not here today. And I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are, but whoever you are, you gotta know that you're not alone. You are not alone. You gotta hear me. You are not alone. Look at these people. You are not alone. Whoever you are, you gotta know that we love you and we accept you and we are here for you. Whenever you are ready to ask those difficult questions, we will be here for you because we want to support you and we want you to be the very best you that you can be. So do it in your time, right? Take the steps that you need to take in order to find those answers. But whatever you do, don't delay. Don't put it off. Okay? Because no one gets to the end of their life and says, you know what? I'm so glad that I spent all those years lying to myself. Nobody says, I'm so thankful that I was able to hide who I really am from the people who love me the most. Nobody says, I am so glad that I spent all that energy trying to deceive people. Nobody says that. People say, good God, why wish that I would have done that sooner? And we just, right. So whatever that journey looks like for you, we just want to support you, and we're going to be here for you. Okay. Welcome to Pride, everybody! Welcome back! Quick little side thing. I don't know, has anyone ever experienced this? I remember years ago, it was probably 2016, someone said around me, maybe it was on social media, who knows, they said, why do they have to call it pride? You know, because for them, you know, pride is sinful, right? They said that it's like they're flaunting their sinfulness before God. You know, has anyone ever experienced that kind of line of thought? Has anyone ever even pondered that thought themselves? Quick show of hands, anybody? Because it's understandable, right? If that's something that's ever crossed your mind, let me just quickly break it down for you, just so that you have a framework to reevaluate what we're talking about here. Language is, when it comes to expressing ideas, language is kind of like using a butter knife when you can't find a screwdriver, unfortunately, right? It'll get the job done, but it's not going to do very well. When people think of pride in terms of sin, what they're really thinking of is hubris, right? Is that association of myself with something superior. So when they hear us say that we're marching for pride, they're hearing that superiority, right? But it is possible to have pride without hubris, right? When my toddler wipes his poopy bum for the very first time, I'm feeling pride, right? I know. But in no capacity do I think he is a superior bum wiper to anybody, all right? To the contrary, a dad's still got to do what a dad's got to do, right? So it is possible to have pride without hubris. So that is what we are talking about today. We're not here celebrating because we are superior to other people. We are here celebrating because we are equal. Am I right? Am I right? We are celebrating our equality. We are not second-class citizens. We are not the butt of jokes. We are not depraved. We are not moral degenerates. We are not bound for hell. We are equal, and we will not accept any treatment that is less than that. So when I say, welcome to Pride, Steinbach, that is what I am talking about. Welcome here, everyone. We acknowledge that the traditional territory upon which we gather as the lands of Treaty 1 and the homeland of the Métis people and the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe. In the spirit of truth, reconciliation, and collaboration, we honor our relation with Indigenous peoples and respect the contributions of history, culture, and language of Canada's original peoples. We recognize the grave injustices perpetrated here and humbly submit ourselves in a posture of listening and learning so that we can understand the actions of the past, appreciate their impact on the present, and work together for a better future, especially for our two-spirit siblings within our community. When we talk about 2S LGBTQ+, the 2S stands for two-spirit. A little background on that term. This is from the Researching for LGBTQ2S+ Health website. Two-spirit refers to a person who identifies as having both a masculine and a feminine spirit, and is used by some Indigenous people to describe their sexual gender and or spiritual identity. As an umbrella term, it may encompass same-sex attraction and a wide variety of gender variances, including people who might be described in Western culture as gay, lesbian, bisexual, transsexual, transgender, genderqueer, cross-dressers, or who have multiple gender identities. Two-spirit can also include relationships that could be considered poly. The term, a translation from the Anishinaabe Moan, is attributed to Elder Myra Laramie, who proposed using it during the 3rd annual Intertribal Native American First Nations Gay and Lesbian American Conference held in Winnipeg in 1990. Two-spirit people may also use terms from their Indigenous language to describe same-sex attraction or gender variance. Some Indigenous languages do not have terms to describe gender identity, such as gay, lesbian, or bisexual. Many Indigenous languages are verb-focused and describe what people do rather than how they identify. And by including it in our formal acronym, we strive to make two-spirit people a more visible part of our community. I believe, just quick show of hands, for whom is this their very first Pride event? Oh, look at those hands! Woo-hoo! Welcome here. I heard that there are some people here, some refugees from Ukraine, that this is their very first Canadian Pride event. Welcome, if you're here, welcome. And I heard that there are some refugees from Syria here, and this is their very first Canadian Pride event. Welcome here. So good to have everyone back again. Woo. My name is Alan Fair, and Chris graciously asked me to MC our event today. Where is Chris? Give a wave, Chris. Where are you? There he is. Everyone wave at Chris. Look at him. Big smile there. He has no idea what he's done. No idea whatsoever. I spent 23 years in the closet and he gave me a microphone. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I spent 23 years of my life dedicated to the cause. I know. Hey, free love. Love is love, pups. Come on. I spent 23 years of my life dedicated to the cause. You all can spend 5 hours with me here. It's okay. It's all yeah, you laugh. No, I'm really witty. I'm freaking hilarious. It's not even going to feel like 3 hours. Hey, Brady. So this is going to be an awesome, amazing time. We wanted to do speeches a little differently this year. Rather than having people come up and them talking and we politely listen and just kind of wait for them to finish, we thought it'd be more engaging, more interactive, to do it in kind of a conversation format. So that is what we are going to be experimenting with today. So I'm going to call up our very first set of speakers. They are speakers that we have wanted to have here for years now, and we are all very eager to hear from them. We are inviting up representation from all 3 levels of government. Welcome here, Mayor Earl Funk, MLA Kelvin Gertson, and MP Ted Funk. Mayor Funk, we know that you are a family man, and we know how important your kids are to you. What words of encouragement do you have for the young members of Steinbach who are making that really tough choice to go against cultural norms, to eschew that which is comfortable, and to identify as something that our greater community doesn't necessarily embody and represent? What words of encouragement do you have for those young people today? Thank you for that. MLA Kelvin Gertson, what a couple years we've had, eh? Woo! It's obviously taken a huge toll on all of us, and no one less than you, right? Both as a health minister during a pandemic and then interim premier as well. Obviously, COVID has had a huge impact on the mental health of everybody that across the globe, right? But we know that people in our community, because of the existing conditions that are already present, already have lower than normal mental health outcomes. What words of hope do you have for our community when you look into the future? What words of hope do you have for people who have been especially struck within our community by the isolation and the rigors of that? Thank you, Kelvin. Mr. Falk. You know, we had an amazing reason to celebrate this year, Mr. Falk. Not too sure if you know the background, especially in the late 90s and early 2000s. Those of us who were good, upstanding Christians who were battling our inner demons, our sexual sin. We were very aware of the role of the popularity that ex-gay ministries were experiencing in the late 90s and early 2000s. And it was touted to us as the cure. This is what will cure you of this sin affliction that you have. Conversion therapy was billed as a way of overcoming those things and coming into line with God's plan for us. And we wanted to believe it so badly. And we submitted ourselves to that therapy because we wanted it so badly to be true. Nobody in those therapy sessions wanted it to be true more than us. And it never worked. We would walk away defeated, wondering what was wrong with us. that these promises weren't coming true. And we'd sit there in the darkness and watch one by one as the leaders of these ex-gay ministries would be found in gay bars, would be outed by secret lovers, would confess that they really weren't ex-gay, or simply succumb to the darkness within. And so it was incredibly moving this year, Mr. Falk, when conversion therapy was made illegal in Canada. Because we knew our brothers and sisters would be moderately more safe from the promotion and the profiting from conversion therapy. But there were a handful, just a handful, of our federal representatives who voted against the bill to ban conversion therapy. And Mr. Falk, you were one of those representatives. And I know that in an interview you gave, you said that you were against coercive conversion therapy. But you felt that the bill didn't protect parents. And Mr. Falk, for those of us who read your words and read the legislation, we were confused. We were very confused because the bill doesn't address families. It addresses people, practices that are administering this therapy. And it has nothing to do with families. So for us, Mr. Falk, it really felt like you were trying very hard to speak out of both sides of your mouth. That you were trying to say both that you were against conversion therapy while still paying lip service to the homophobic people who are oppressing and abusing us. So Mr. Falk, we want to know right now, please make it clear as day. Are you for us? Will you fight for Canadians to prevent them from ever having to endure this form of mental and emotional abuse? Or are you willing to sacrifice those people in order to pay lip service to our homophobic abusers? Please let us know, because we are dying to know. Thanks for that. And we look forward to hearing just as much, if not more, from all of you next year. Although we recognize that this is a municipal election year, so we will wait, Earl, to see whom we are inviting back next year. Chris asked me if I would share a little bit of my story with you all today, and I said, yeah, sure. Something that is so important to me is to just highlight the fact that my experience is just that. It's just my experience, and I don't feel that my experience needs to be reflected by anybody else here today. For myself, I know that my experience was heavily influenced by the well-meaning exploitation of my father wound by the church, right? So I cannot separate out my coming out with my deconversion. They are one and the same story, right? But I need everyone here to know that my default position to every single person is respect. If you are here underneath the banner of a church, I want you to know that I respect you. Whatever love, acceptance, and respect you show to other people, I mirror that back to you. That is my default position. I have nothing but respect for you, regardless of what banner you are marching under. If you are an organization that seeks to use its authority in order to manipulate people and to tell them that they are not enough and they need something outside of themselves in order to be acceptable and that they are the bearer of that gift that it is, then I have only disrespect, heaps and heaps of disrespect on anyone who tries to tell you that you are not enough. But the individuals themselves, I respect you and I love you and I accept you just the way that you are. We all know Chris, right? Who here thinks that Chris is a nice guy? Yeah, he is. I'm kind of like Chris, but instead of being nice, I'm passionate. Okay? So you may see some of that passion coming out. It's a happy pop. You may, if people agree with what I say, then they call me passionate. If they're kind of on the fence, then they call me intense. And if they don't like what I'm saying, then I'm just angry, right? So it's all just a matter of perspective. But I'll take passionate any day. Anybody here a child of divorce? Yeah, there's a couple of us, right? That's a joke. Me too, right? We left my mom's first husband when I was 2, and that had a huge impact on me, right? I keenly felt that need, that desire for a strong male relationship in my life. I felt it keenly. I wanted it desperately, right? I remember being 5 years old, and when another trip with Dad was aborted last minute, I just screamed out, "Why doesn't my dad love me?" Right? I was just heartbroken because that was so important to me, to have that meaningful relationship with a man in my life. And so the church saw that, and they gave me a promise. They said, "You know what? You know that hole you have in your heart for your earthly father? Well, guess what? There's a heavenly Father, and everything your earthly father could be, your heavenly Father wants to be even more. He wants to love you so much. He wants to accept you so much. He wants to be the lover of your soul. He wants to comfort you. He wants to kiss away every tear. He wants to be your everything. He wants to be your perfect friend. But there's a catch. In order to access this perfect love, you just got to give your life to Him. And it's a small price, really, when you think about it. Like, our lifetime here is just a moment, but eternity in heaven with your Father in heaven, living a perfect life, how much does that cost? How much would you pay for that, right? And so I believed it, right? I believed it because I was a child. I believed it because people who were older than me, in a position of authority over me, told me that it was true, and I believed them because I wanted it to be true. I so badly wanted that Father to love me, right? And so when I was 16 and we moved from Winnipeg to Landmark, there were new challenges afoot. Not only was I, like any other teenager, trying to find my place, trying to find my tribe, I was suddenly trying to find my tribe in a graduating class of 21. And half of them were related to each other. And the other half all went to church together, right? So if I were to find my tribe, I had to do one of the two. I was only 16, so I couldn't marry in for another 2 years. But I could start going to church with them, right? And that's how I got into the EMC, because I wanted that. I wanted that affection. I wanted that acceptance. I wanted what they were promising me from God, right? And so when, around the same time, I realized that my interest in men outweighed my interest in women, I knew what I needed to do about that, right? Need to stomp that right out, because there's no room in heaven for any of that, right? We needed to submit ourselves to God and with His plan. And that's what I did. That's what I did because that is what I wanted so badly. Shortly after that, eventually I decided that it was time to start dating. Not because I was attracted to women, but that's just what you did after a while, right? And I dated this one gal, and it was a real great couple years, but we broke it up for mutual reasons. She wanted someone who would be in love with her, and I wasn't. So it was very mutual that way. So I finished up my time at Bible college, and then I had this awesome friend, a friend who was just a godly woman. And I explained my situation to her. I explained who I was and my struggle with my sexuality, and she was on board with helping me through that. Together, we were going to live out the promises that God had for us so that we could become the couple that God wanted us to be. Together, we would fight that fight. Together, we would face those challenges. And together, we would do that for our entire lives until I was all better, right? One of the problems was that a few years earlier I had a falling out with my faith. I realized that I didn't know what I believed. I knew what I believed. I didn't know why I believed it, right? I spent a year in limbo just trying to figure that out. And after a year, I realized that, you know what? I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I know where I don't want to go. I clearly saw a future where I was going to be dying of AIDS in a hospital bed. And I didn't want that. And I knew the only way to avoid that was to start going to church again. No, not a sign you see on Main Street on churches, right? Come worship with us, 9:45 a.m. every Sunday. We'll help you not die of AIDS. So we got married, and we started church shopping. Because I didn't want to be attending the church where she was going, and we needed to find a place to go together. So we started going around, and we did that for a couple years, and no place was really quite right. So we finally succumbed. We said, everyone else is doing it. Why shouldn't we? We started going to Southland. I know, I'm sorry. No, in reality, I'm so glad that we did, because going to Southland really helped me see the answers to some of the most pressing questions I had. I remember specifically, we were at a listening prayer evening. For those of us who don't know, who aren't in the know, listening prayer, so often when we pray to God, and ask him for this or that or wisdom, and then we just go on with our lives, and we don't even listen for an answer because we don't actually believe that God is going to give us an answer. So with listening prayer, you ask God questions, and then you calm yourself, you quiet your mind, and you actually listen to what God is trying to tell you, and he'll speak to you sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes he will, and sometimes the silence will be speaking. It's deep stuff. So we were there. I was praying to God. I was listening to God. I was writing down everything that I was hearing God saying. And as I was writing it down, this realization slowly started to dawn on me. That I wasn't listening to God. I was listening to myself. I was giving myself time to hear what I actually thought. It was my very own Tyler Durden moment. Oh no, it wasn't God all along. It was just me. Oh. And that was the biggest crumbling of my foundation. I had built everything in my life upon that foundation. My identity, my relationship with my wife, and my place in my effort to be a good, straight Christian man, on the idea that an invisible, silent God was working behind the scenes in order to do what was best for me. And that slowly began to crumble away 2 years into my marriage. We had to decide, what are we going to do now? Well, we were dedicated. We were here for the long haul. We weren't going to flake out. And so we buckled down, and for 10 years, we fought to find a way for us to be on equal footing, despite having very different views on how the world operates. We had two amazing kids. We had one amazing kid and one kid who was exactly like his dad. Really in touch with his feelings and really expressive. And that's why Daddy drinks. But the whole time we were trying to find a way for us to find a way forward. A couple of years ago, I was standing at my desk down on Main Street. And I was reflecting on myself, as our Enneagram 4s are wont to do a lot. And I was thinking about, like, I'm very aware of myself, and that I know that I'm a broken person. I know that I've got scars. I know that I've got baggage, right? And I carry those things around with me. And my whole life, I've just been wanting so badly to get beyond those things so that I could actually start living, right? They're always, especially with guys, I just want to have a normal, healthy relationship with a guy, and I just can't do it. There's all these things that keep on getting in the way, and I wish that I could just get past these things so that I could be those things, right? And it was like I had this moment outside of myself where I asked myself, what would you do if one of your friends came up and described themselves the way that you are describing yourself right now? What would you do if one of your friends came up to you and said, I'm broken. I've got scars. I got bags. One day I'll be acceptable, but right now I just got to get through this. What would you say to that friend? You know, and the answer came to me in an instant. Shut the F you. Sorry, why, I guess, right? I'm sorry, but those things do not define you. You may be broken, you may have scars, you may have baggage, but that is not all of who you are. That does not encompass who you are going to be. You are on an upward trajectory. You will get better. You will improve. But who you are right now is perfectly wonderful, acceptable, and lovable. You say you're broken. Well, guess what, buddy? Everybody's broken. There is not a single person who's going to get through life alive. We are all broken. We've all had our knocks. We've all got pieces missing. And if anybody tells you otherwise, they're either lying to themselves or they are lying to you. Yeah, you're broken. But you know what that means? That means that you've got empathy for other people. When you see that broken person, you can relate to them. You know what they're feeling, and you're going to be able to help them. You say that you've got scars. Do you know what scars are? Scars are the embodiment of hope. When every scar comes from a time when someone slashed you and you sat there and you were bleeding and it felt like maybe this is the end. Maybe you won't get past this one. And you know what happened with each and every one of those cuts? Your body does what your body does. It started to heal itself. And you know what? You got better. Every scar on your skin is a living embodiment to things getting better. You got baggage. Do you know what that baggage is there for? Do you know what that baggage is there for? That baggage is there so that when you are walking down the road and you see someone who is broken, you reach out to them with your heart. You care about them. You want to go up to them. You want to help them. You go there and you see them sitting on the ground, bleeding out, and you're going to get down on one knee and you're going to put your hand on that wound and you're going to tell them that it's going to get better, and they're going to see the scars on your face and they're going to believe you. Because they know that you've been there and that you have a reason for being hopeful. And you're going to take that bag and you're going to lay it down and you're going to open it up and you're going to take out a stool. You're going to lift them up out of the dirt and you're going to give them a place of dignity sitting outside of the dirt. You're going to take that ointment that someone gave you when you were bleeding. You're going to take some fresh bandages. You're going to put that ointment on them. You're going to wrap up their wounds and you are going to help them. You think that because you're broken and you've got scars and you've got bags, that those are things to be ashamed of? My God, man, those are your superpowers. Those are the things that are going to allow you to make a difference in the lives of people. That's what's going to change the world. You want to hide from those things? You need to lean into those things. And that was the day that the last piece of my identity as a good, straight Christian man crumbled away, because I knew that I didn't need to be those things anymore, that I could just be myself, and that I'd be perfectly lovable and perfectly acceptable. So I went home and I had a conversation with my wife. And then a couple weeks later, the province did this 2-week shutdown thing because of a virus going around. I think it lasted a little bit longer than 2 weeks, though. I'm a little hazy on that. Because if there's a global pandemic, there's no event. So I was also laid off. So I spent a year and a half isolated at home with my family, trying to figure this out. And it wasn't an ideal way to do it, but you know what? I'm very grateful for the benefits that brought about, because it demonstrated to my wife that I wasn't running out, that I was having my eye on what was best for all of us, and that I wanted to work through it with her. And today, all of my fears about what it would mean for me to inflict upon my kids another divorce have faded away, because we have such a top-notch relationship, because we know that our number one concern is what is best for our children. And everything else is secondary to that. So that's a slice of what my life was like during the pandemic. I've been talking a whole lot here. I'm going to call up Ms. Charlie Champagne to share with us as well. She had a different experience during COVID. Welcome here, Charlie. Give a big round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us, Charlie. I love your shoes. I'm just seeing them now. Have you been wearing them all day?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I have.
Oh, Converse. I don't have money.
Online sales.
Woo! Charlie, tell us a little bit. Who was Charlie in 2019 prior to COVID?
All right. So 2019 Charlie, and I swear I will not talk in the third person this whole time. But 2019 Charlie was becoming very secure in who I was as a queer woman. I'm not going to go into 18-year-old Charlie. We don't need to go that far back. But kind of progressed along, am I bisexual? Am I pansexual? Who am I? And then we get to 2019 and I'm like, you know what? I am a queer woman. And that is who I am. And that is kind of my life. And that is how I'm going to live, and that is how I'm going to portray myself. And that's just who I am. And I was very happy with that. I moved into a job in Winnipeg where I was able to really be fully myself. Moving out of Steinbach, I had great experiences working in Steinbach, but there was something about this new job that just let me be exactly who I was. And I was so excited, and I was finding my people, and it was so great, and I was just starting this whole new super out and proud journey instead of the kind of I'm out to people who know that I'm out. It was more I'm super out now, super out, rainbows everywhere. And it was so great. And then, as Alan alluded to, we had a 2-week shutdown that took me to my house. I worked from home. I was very much in kind of that middle ground of I love being at home so much. I love not having social obligations. I'm an introvert at heart, so I was like, yeah, this is great. I don't actually have to go do anything. And then I realized this is not beneficial to me. And I think that the turning point was one day I kind of woke up and went, my son just went to his dad's for 3 days. I'm working from home. This is going to sound super morbid, but here we go. If I pass away, nobody's going to know for 3 days. I'm like, this isn't good. This is not what I want. So I was like, I need to do some things. I need to get out in the community. And that is how I found my family, was through the pandemic. And my family now is my global family. I know that maybe Facebook isn't the coolest thing anymore. I'm pushing 40, but I love Facebook, so here we go. I found my family in joining Facebook groups, in becoming kind of outspoken in different groups and making friends, and I have formed relationships, long distance relationships, because why wouldn't I do that in a pandemic? So they've ended. I've got family, friends that I consider family. And the reason I'm talking about this is because you might not always find your community and your family in person, but when you can find that family that supports you in any way, it's just the most amazing feeling. I've traveled to meet my found family. They've traveled to meet me. I'm actually going out to see some of them in 2 weeks, and it's just the most amazing feeling. And these folks that I wasn't able to find in person will text me when I'm having a bad day, and I haven't talked to them at all during this day. And my best friend, my bestie, I don't know if that's a cool term anymore, but she's my bestie. But she'll text me and be like, hey, why are you in a bad mood today? Or what's going on? And we haven't even talked. And it's just that amazing community that I've been able to find, that now that I've got that kind of feeling of being so comfortable with myself, I'm more comfortable getting out and kind of finding my in-person community as well. So I think the reason kind of why we wanted to share that, or why I wanted to share that, is that you might not find your community where you think you might find it. I'm so inspired. Thank you. I'm so inspired looking out at this crowd that we have here today and seeing groups of young people and groups of youth and groups of adults, and everybody just kind of finding their people. And it's so inspiring that you might not have to go global to find your family. But also know that if you do, there's some amazing people out there that offer the most amazing support. And I don't know that I would be here today. And again, that's sounding maybe a little more, but I don't know if I would be here in this spot as the woman that I am today without finding my family, without going out there, putting myself out there, putting myself in uncomfortable situations and meeting people. So I just encourage everybody, if you feel like you don't have a community or you don't know where to find a community, just put yourself out there. Find a Facebook group if that's still your thing. I don't know what else there is. There's like Twitter. No. See, I'm aging myself all over again. But find your community where you find it. Find your family, and just be proud to be who you are. And kind of don't let anybody dim that light, because it's amazing. It's gorgeous. So.
Absolutely. I know, similarly for myself, like I came out 2 weeks before the pandemic and I felt so alone, right? Like I remember it was March, a little bit down the road, and I was in my car crying, and I just made this TikTok because I knew deep down that this was all my fault. That if I had just prayed harder, if I had read my Bible harder, if I believed harder, if I'd done this or this or this or this or this, I wouldn't be doing this to my family. And I just reached out to like nobody on TikTok for help. And I think that video got like 10,000 views and so many comments and so many likes. It was just so amazing to be able to find that community, even though we might be limited here, just to know that there is a whole world out there that wants to support us.
That's the one, TikTok. That one.
There we go. I know. Find us on TikTok. Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Charlie.
Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. We're going to call up Mr. Chris Pletch, our brave leader, who's going to walk us through the next part of our walk. Look at that guy. Look at that shirt. I love that shirt.
Running up here.
Yeah, I know.
All
about this guy.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get to the best part. We're going to get ready to start marching. So first thing I want to do is I want to thank some of our sponsors. Our sponsors right now, I want to thank Ray Unger. I believe I saw you kicking around here somewhere. I want to thank E&E Electric. They gave us the lovely support. And as well, I want to thank Justin Schinkel as well for your support as well, for making all this happen. Could we give a round of applause to all our supporters? All right. Okay, so this march is a little different. I don't know if you guys have been seeing online. This march today is a little different than what we normally do. Normally, we shut down the streets and we walk down the street and we come back around, we come back down to this location. There was some staffing issues, apparently. They were having a hard time trying to get enough people for security for the roads. So they asked us if we would be able to do sidewalk this year. I said, you know what? We'll do it this year. Next year, we're just going to do it much bigger than we've ever done it before. So we're going to show them. They also said that they would not fly the pride flag for us down at City Hall. So we're going to be the pride flag this year. We're going to be much louder and much brighter than any flag could possibly be hanging on the top of a flagpole. So we're going to walk down. You're going to just follow us down the sidewalk over here. We're going to cross the street, cross the main street, and we're going to walk back up. And then when you see the other marchers coming your direction, you're going to be able to see them across the street. Get loud, get proud, just be crazy, just be really, really noisy.
Our flags are there.
They are there?
We brought a pride flag and a trans flag, and they are flying at City Hall.
Yeah. So if the city won't do it, I guess then we just do it. Perfect, thanks for that. Excellent. So we're going to head down. We're just going to head down Reimer there. Give us a little bit of time to get all set up. Because we are on the sidewalk, just to remember that they did also ask us just to follow kind of the road rules. So if you do see that we are told by the machine to stop, please do so. If there is emergency vehicles coming along or any kind of emergency first responders or police or whatever it is, give them the way. Don't walk across the street in front of them, please, please, please. They've got bigger things to worry about at that time. Other than that, then we're going to work our way back over here, and then we will conclude at that point. And we thank you all for showing up. It always blows me away. We always get to about half an hour before the event, and I'm like, uh-oh. The park looks really empty, and then it fills right up every single time, and I love you all for coming. Thank you so much, and thanks again for joining us here at Steinbach Pride 20.